So the big question is this. How do you take $42,000 in assets in a one TrackMan Bay facility in the back of a CrossFit gym and turn it into a 12-bay, 17,000 square foot training facility in just a few years? That's the question, and this is the podcast that's going to give you the answer. Welcome to Inside the Room on Stock Shot Secrets. All right, we are back for Stock Shot Secrets, more Inside the Room, and today I've got one of my buddies, Sean Fee, who heads up all of our mental performance at TGR. I'm so excited for you to be here. Sean has joined us, so we're going on, what, month 5?
I think we're about 4.
Yeah, and you know, if you, for those, you know, entrepreneurs out there or business owners, like some people, as you know, some employees, like you have A employees, B employees, C employees. Sean is without a doubt an A player. He's got his own podcast as well. What's that called? Well Sport, right?
It is the Well Sport podcast presented by the Golf Room. Yep, we just kicked off our first episode awesome. Last week. So.
Yes, so Sean has been amazing, and I think that Sean, one of the greatest things that I love about Sean is your heart for really changing the hearts and souls and characters of your players, right? Like for you, just like for me, like this is way bigger than just golf. This is about life and just, you know, in some sense, like you are working at the Golf Room, but it doesn't matter whether it's wrestling, golf. If you were talking to a business professional, it's probably all the mental aspects are the same, right? So super excited that you're here and just being a part of TGR. You're amazing. So
thank you.
With being a part of TGR, right? Like I just want to, you know, have the listeners learn a little bit more about Sean. So like, Just tell us a little bit about your story. Like, where are you from? You know, obviously talk a little bit about your wrestling background. Because I think that's amazing in itself. So I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to let Kyle know how much I appreciate him letting a wrestler, you know, kind of in the building. You know, during our interview process, that's kind of one of the first things we talked about. He was like, hey, it's okay that you're not a golfer. Like, we have the best golf coaches in the country here. I kind of like the idea of bringing in a wrestler for all the, you know, the mental toughness pieces and everything that experience probably brought you. So I have been super thankful to have that opportunity. Because a lot of people probably, you know, would have went strictly golf specific.
Well, I think it was for us, like I had told you, and just for the listeners, when because the Golf Room started, right? Like in the room when you walk in, there's this big skill, body, mind, and we had been in the hunt for finding a mental performance coach for a while. We started with Dr. Todd Case, who's an incredible guy. Unfortunately, he got sick and kind of had to leave and depart TGR a little while back, but I think that there's a beauty in the fact of having a mental performance coach that when they see you and they're seeing you play and you're doing playing lessons, they're not looking at like, oh, his club face is open, he hit it to the right. It's more of like the intangibles of the commentary that you can see as like the CNN ticker above their head. That's like, I suck. So they can see that stuff rather than seeing like, oh, the dude's like too steep and not hitting a stock shot because he's too steep in a swing. So, you kind of come in. So you're originally, where are you from?
Yeah, so I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, born and raised on the east side of Cleveland.
Browns fan?
Lifelong Browns fan. We've had season tickets my entire life.
Do you want to get rid of Watson and just keep Flacco on the team?
Honestly,
because they're winning.
He's been rolling. This could turn into a total Browns podcast. So I won't go too much into it.
What's crazy about it is that like you've got this guy that you've paid all this money to.
Yeah.
But then you have Flacco, who almost won an MVP, or did he win his MVP? He was like
he won the Super Bowl. He's a Super Bowl champ.
I think he was the NFL MVP.
I think he was too.
And then he just like fell off the grid. But like, how do you go? What? He probably just needed to call Sean Fee.
There you go. That's all he needed, right? Yeah, no, it's hilarious how that works out.
Yeah,
it's the most Browns move of all time.
Yeah. So, sums it up. All right, so you're from Cleveland.
Yep, from Cleveland, Ohio. Lifelong wrestler, like I alluded to earlier. I wrestled on the east side of Cleveland at Lake Catholic High School. Place that stayed a couple times there, and then I went on to wrestle at West Virginia University.
Nice.
I was just a recruited walk-on there, but I was able to earn my starting spot, which was, pretty cool to be. You know, when you're a recruited walk-on, you really have to kind of prove your worth there. And to be able to do that and start and travel to all these really cool places was a really cool experience.
Right, and that's probably, there's some mental adversity even just walking on campus, and you're like, or walking to practice, I should say, and you go, you're not the guy. right?
Oh my gosh,
Like
absolutely.
you got to earn your stripes.
Especially in college. I mean, it is a business. Like the coaches, they have to win. So you really feel like you have to go out there. And for me, I didn't necessarily feel like I had all the talent in the world, but I knew my hard work could kind of get me to places I need to be.
Sure.
But to kind of bring that to why I'm doing the work I'm doing now, during that time, I was actually dealing with a lot of mental struggles. So even though I was starting as a freshman, I was a little burnt out. I kind of lost my love for the sport. I was feeling very homesick because all my friends stayed kind of local and went to college. And I really had no one to talk to about a lot of this stuff.
Yeah.
There was a sports psychologist there. He was just an older guy. And I'm like, how is he going to relate to the things I'm going through?
Yeah.
Nothing against him. I'm sure he was a great guy. But after my freshman year, it actually, all these things building up, me not dealing with them led to me quitting wrestling after starting the majority of my freshman year, a lot of my freshman year. So that is why I'm so passionate about doing the work that I'm doing now.
Do you think your story would have been different if Sean at 18 knew Sean at, how old are you right now? 30?
I just turned 30.
Oh,
yeah.
boy. Oh,
yeah, I'm still don't know how I feel about it.
Right. So if Sean 30 knew Sean at 18, do you think the story would have been different for 3 years, or do you think that was, God's plan and it was a perfect story because it also kind of led you to right here?
Yeah. So that is an unbelievable question, and it's something I think about a lot. I truly believe that for my story, this is how it was supposed to happen. Like, genuinely believe in that. But on the flip side of it, knowing the mental tools that I know now and that I've learned through school and experience and my education and things, I would have helped like a ton.
Sure.
I don't know if I would have ever been an All-American or anything, but I think I could have maybe been a serviceable starter at a Division I school. That being said, I have zero regrets in quitting because I feel like I'm impacting so many more lives now because of those struggles that I went through.
It's amazing how when you look back on like the adversities you have in life, whether it's in work or school or family or whatever, there's 99.9% of it. When you can look back in time, like 4, 5, 6, 7 years and think there's always a plan. Even though it seems like a crazy turmoil, there's always beauty that comes out of it, right? So it's just amazing how life works like that, right?
Absolutely.
To have a big picture. So now, fast forward, so you're doing that stuff. Then you graduate, you go up to Cleveland, right? And start doing some marketing up there and social media for the city of Cleveland.
Yeah. Amazing job, especially for a kid right out of college. But I knew my true passion, and it was to work with athletes.
Yep.
I knew that's what I was supposed to do with my life. So when COVID hit, we were funded by hotels. People didn't stay in hotels. A lot of people lost their jobs.
Yep.
For me, I was kind of already leaning towards, all right, I need to get into this full go because I was coaching wrestling and getting a little bit of my fix there, but I knew my purpose, right?
Yeah.
So it was very frustrating not being able to do that full time. So I kind of looked at COVID as an opportunity to be able to go back to school. I lost my job. How am I going to turn this into a positive? And I went back to school. I got my master's degree in counseling psychology with a focus in positive coaching and athletic leadership. I've said that a million times. Yeah, it's a mouthful. It's a mouthful, but when you say it enough, you can, you get it down.
Yep.
And that led to me getting a job at Ohio State, which led me to you and the golf room. And I couldn't be happier to be here.
So in that journey, you wake up, I guess, one night in the middle of the night and say, I'm going to write a book. Let's hear a little bit about this idea. And what's the book called?
Sure. The book is called The Fine Line. And I write a lot in general, just for like my own mental health and to clear my own mind. And I was writing a lot in college and a little bit after college about, I never really thought I was going to publish anything. But then my writing kind of got to the point where I was like, I know some other, college age kids, maybe a little bit older, maybe a little bit younger, are dealing with a lot of these same struggles and these same thoughts. And it's not like, I wrote the book as like a 25-year-old. So it's not like it's anything groundbreaking, but I think the relatability of it is something that a lot of people, especially within that age range, would really be able to pull some things from.
And I think in general, too, it's kind of like, I think times are, I don't want to say, times are changing, but what's different is that with your profession of doing mental performance, right? Or if you want to call it sports psychology or whatever, like, a decade ago, there was a negative light to if you're an athlete and you have to work with a sports psychologist, like, oh, you must be a head case, right? One of those sports psychology guys. But the thing is, it's like, I love how, like, one of our students, Owen Heilman, put it the other day, like a couple weeks ago, where he was like, there's nothing wrong with my mind. I'm just prepping, right? Like, I'm getting ahead of it so that in the midst of life, like, I can dominate life. And that's the thing. It's like, you're not necessarily like a sports psychologist or mental performance. It's like, you're just a let me help you dominate life guy. Hey guys, I hope you are enjoying this episode of the Stock Shot Secrets podcast. If you are enjoying it, be sure to like this episode. Be sure to subscribe so you can always see when they're coming out. And most importantly, if you would be so kind to be able to share this podcast with other passionate golfers who are trying to get better and build stock shots, because it grows through you sharing it. Thank you so much for tuning in. And now back to Stock Shot Secrets.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
That's a great way to put it. And
it's all across everything, like whether it's work or school or being a better husband or father or, uncle or whatever it may be. Like, the principles that you're teaching is not just about like, oh, you can make a 6-foot putt. It's like, and it's not like they're sitting on your chair, like crying, talking about, their dad issues or something. I guess maybe, but it's more of just about building really productive habits for life.
Absolutely. And like, to the first part of that, especially being in the sport of wrestling, like, mental toughness and kind of shoving your feelings down is what is instilled in you. And I kind of put mental toughness in quotes because, that absolutely brought about like great work ethic in me and like some amazing qualities, I think, that I'm very proud of, but also not being able to deal with a lot of those feelings and just putting my head down and not talking to anyone about it led to some issues later on. So that's a really good point. And to the second part of that, I feel like a lot of the athletes I do see are the ones who don't really, it's not like they feel like their mental game is weak. They are just taking all the steps for when they know they're going to be in that high pressure moment. They want to know they did all they could. And the mental game is obviously a big part of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things with your profession where there's so much beauty in the human being having a full understanding of what it makes them great, and then the things what they need to work on, right? Like, if you said, hey, Kyle, what are you suck at? I go, like, all these things, right? And then you're like, what are you good at? I'm like, these things, right? And there's healthiness in understanding, hey, what am I really good at? And then what am I really bad at? And the things that I'm really bad at, right? Like, I've got these checks and balances and I need to work on these things and make these ones. I just need to make sure that they stay where they are. But I think what you do well is it extends the boundaries of the golf course and the OB stakes into, like, if we're talking about, hey, which we'll maybe get to in here a bit about breathing, right? Well, like, what if you're like, you're 30 years old and you and your wife decide to have some kids in a few years and the kids are screaming and they don't put their shoes away and the backpacks are thing and the bus is outside and you're like, get outside. And then you got to get in the car and you're like, I got to just chill out and reset the day. So that's why I am, like, with me, because I was working with Todd Kays when I was 12, right? So I started working with this stuff super early. I am a really, really big believer that you can literally not have a bad day. Like, you are in control of how you feel and you feel like what you focus on. And if I'm focusing on gratitude and things of positive mindset, which goes into the golf course, so I can stay out of my own way and hit more stock shots, like, that bleeds out. So
absolutely.
What are some of the things that being now in the golf room, right? What are some hurdles that you're seeing that are common hurdles for golfers in the mental aspect that are like the 1, 2, 3, like, man, like, these are the big ones.
There's one specifically that I've been thinking a lot about lately because it's a new idea to me, and it's something I'm hearing from almost everyone, every single kid. It's the almost being scared to do good from the start because they're so worried about losing that lead. Right? They're like, I almost like getting off to a rough start because then all the pressure's off, right? or it fires me up, or a lot of times, like, after the turn, I'm finding that a lot of golfers are if they're doing really well, they just start to obsess. Obviously, I talk a lot about this, but obsess over the result.
Right.
And when doing that, you are in the opposite of the moment. You're thinking about all the things that you shouldn't be thinking about at all, right?
Right.
And it takes all the fun out of it, and you start to get stressed, so you play a little faster and you grip the club tighter, and it all kind of snowballs, right?
Yeah, and if they can get that awareness of where they are in the midst of their mindset, I'm just having, kind of circling back to what we were saying of just, hey, you can sense your self-talk and you can sense what's going on. Like there's thing. I mean, can you tell a little bit more just because it's super fresh?
Sure.
The reel you put out yesterday of like the adversity in the high school yearbook was classic. I think I've shared that with like 400 people bragging, just like, check out how sweet my mental performance guy is. This guy's incredible. So can you tell a little bit about that, the Gremlin high school yearbook?
Yeah. So this is literally one of my favorite concepts to teach because it's something that I feel like everyone goes through, but also has like a direct reflection on like tactical mental performance work that will like help your golf game too. And it's the idea of the negative gremlin, and it's this little annoying thing that like sits on your shoulder whenever maybe you miss a 5-foot putt. What is that negative voice going to be saying to you, right? So we did an exercise where we had each kid kind of label their negative gremlin and make the negative gremlin yearbook where they drew their own negative gremlin, what it says to you in moments of like adversity or moments of failure, right?
Yeah.
Like sometimes in sport we fail, and what is that thing saying to you? Things like, you suck, why are you doing this? All the things. We all have it.
Here we go again.
Right. And the first step to kind of taming that negative gremlin is accepting that it's there, right? Not just trying to shove it down and be mentally tough, but if you I call it saying hi to your negative gremlin and learn to kind of live with these emotions, it makes all the difference in the world in taming those feelings. So that's what we worked on this week. We put him on Muirfield Village in stormy conditions with an insane difficulty, and with the purpose of frustrating them to bring their negative gremlin out.
We wanted to get them super riled up.
That's right. And they were amazing, and it definitely felt that frustration. Yeah. But because of that, they were so open to hearing the lesson that week of like, okay, how do I work through that? So that lesson obviously was it kind of seamlessly fit for that.
That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit. So you got the gremlin, right? And every single golfer has that. And it doesn't even have to be golf. Like it could just be life, right? Like you have negative self-talk about a business deal that's happening, negative self-talk of like, some guy says something to you like in a friend circle and you're like, oh, like, is that guy right? Like, am I actually a degenerate? Like,
sure.
Like whatever it may be. So you hear these voices, right? So the first thing is on a mental standpoint, we have to have an acceptance of like, and have an awareness that this is here, right? Yeah. Like I'm speaking. Then it's about having the remedies to fix and basically like flick the gremlin off your shoulder and go, time for you to go now. Yeah. So what are some of those, simple, like what's something tangible that someone could take away to basically just calm the moment? Maybe it's not self-talk. Maybe the dude just he hits it's in member and he makes a triple bogey on the 11th hole, right? Yeah. He doesn't want to snowball the round. Like what advice would you give them as a simple piece of advice? Yeah,
I'm really happy you asked that because I love sharing this. So I have I call it the acceptance formula. So the first step is saying hi to that negative gremlin, right? Accepting that it's there. And then the second step of that formula is the physiological sigh, which is a double inhale through your nose and then a longer exhale through your mouth. Mm-hmm. And that's like a actual physiological thing to lower anxiety, increase your focus, and slow your heart rate, which is just an actual physical step to bring you back to the moment. And then the third part of that formula, which I kind of learned from you. For me, originally, it was you say your why in the third step of the formula. My why is I'm a resilient person who runs towards difficult tasks. But like an actual golf specific thing is what does a good shot look like? Yep. So the third part of that, when you ask yourself that question, after saying hi to your gremlin, after doing the breath work, just focusing on not what other people you think they're thinking about you, but when you ask yourself that question, the brain is kind of forced to answer it. Right. And then I want you to visualize like what that perfect shot looks like from like a tracer, just like on a TrackMan, right? And really see that good shot.
Which allows that with, for you listeners that are listening there, like that allows you guys to essentially, when you're doing that, when you ask yourself, hey, what does a good shot look like here? It allows you to enter what's called your motor cortex, which is 11 million messages a second. Whereas when that gremlin is talking to you through logical thought, you're using your prefrontal cortex, which is 40 messages a second. So by doing that, it allows us to kind of focus on the present moment and be attached to our senses. And then we are a better athlete, and golf is a sport, and we're not thinking golf, but we're playing golf, and we don't have 9 million thoughts. So, if you're out there trying to play golf, or think golf with 9 million swing thoughts, it's a good way to not play good. So
absolutely.
And there's an art to know how to do that, right?
Yep.
To be able to kind of do that. So
well said.
in the future of kind of sports psychology, right? Because it's, you can almost kind of say it's a newer field, right? It's probably it's continuing to grow, right? It doesn't have a history base of like teaching golf. Like this is, it used to always just be, okay, like what's the 7-iron and driver swing look like? And then it was kind of like, okay, then Tiger came on the scene, and it was like, okay, now we got to start working on the body because like this dude's running in army boots, right? So like then we got to tackle the body. And then now it's kind of starting over the last decade or so. It's like, okay, the mind piece. Where do you see, is there any fortune telling in your brain of where you see this thing growing? If you're 30 years old, like what's this kind of look like, in 10 years, 15 years?
Yeah, I mean, I think the field in general, I got in. So when I was like going back to school for this, it was a risk in the sense of like, I could kind of see where it was going. I'm like, I'm a little bit before my time, but I'm hoping that it's like, it lines up perfectly.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's happening right now.
Yep.
I saw how people started talking about mental health and sports psychology and the difference like having strong mental game makes. And I kind of just got in at the right time. I really trusted that it was going that way. And I think I'm getting a lot more younger kids saying that they want to get into this field. And I just think it's something that every sports team eventually will have, whether it's just one person or a full staff focused on making sure their players are mentally, in the places that they need to be and have the skills that are able to do that. So I think that this will eventually, in the next 10 years, become just as common as, having a strength coach or a swing coach or whatever it is.
Well, I think it's even in if you take the word sport out of it and it's just this realm of psychology, like even on a culture standpoint of businesses, you have employees who say life sucks, like that's the like those employees are super toxic into a facility. Then you have employees that say my life sucks, which is like it's a ring above it, but it's still not good. So like when you have employees that are like, life is great and like I'm happy to be here and I'm feeling a sense of gratitude today and all this stuff, it just makes business better. So it probably wouldn't be that far off if in 20, 25 years your profession is almost like, not only are you, and maybe this is a business idea in itself.
Yeah, I like where this is going.
Yes, but maybe there's something to say about like, hey, like you're working with athletes, but like you could probably make a pretty good argument that's like, you should be hanging out with John and hanging out with Dave and hanging out with Scott and Mitch and, Mac and just like, hey, man, like, how are you doing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the one that always comes to my mind is Billions. Do you ever watch Billions?
Yeah. I stopped the last like 2 seasons.
Yeah.
But
well, that girl, like she was, I forget what her name was, the actor, but, she was like the life coach to the team.
Yeah.
Because it was a super high stress one. Now we're not trading hedge funds at TGR. We're just, making stock shots. But I can see it being as the more it gets accepted to the fact of like mental health and mental performance is just about helping you thrive in life so that you can be amazing, the better it'll be. Right. So, I just appreciate everything you're doing. I think that you're going to, you're going to be, the things that you are doing in your profession at TGR are going to have almost a way longer lasting effect than me changing a dude's swing plane, right? So I appreciate you being a part of TGR, buddy. Look forward to what we're doing in the future, and thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, this was an absolute blast, and I am truly thankful every single day that I get to work at such an awesome place that, it's about golf, but like you alluded to, it's about a lot more than that. So I'm very thankful to have this opportunity.
And if anybody wants to come follow your podcast, where could they go again?
Yeah, so my Instagram is wellsport.tgr, so I post a bunch of mental performance tips to that. And then you could find my podcast. It's currently just on Spotify. We're working on getting it other places at the Wellsport podcast presented by the Golf Room. So.
Nice. And if you guys want to book book, if you guys are in Columbus or you're coming in town to see me for an experience day, or even if you're online and you're one of the Golf Room Everywhere members, you guys can simply go to thegolfroom.com, book an appointment with Sean, and kind of dive in and see what your gremlin is.
That's right. We'll
All right,
figure
buddy.
it out.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thanks so much, Kyle.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to the latest episode of Stock Shot Secrets. Now, as a listener of Stock Shot Secrets, I want to make sure that you have the opportunity to get better. So if you were to go to stockshotclub.com, I'm going to give you 7 days free access where you can send us your video and we will give you personalized individual attention as to what you need to do so that you can start building stock shots. So just go to stockshotclub.com and register there. We'll give you 7 days free where you can try it. And then if we like it, you can stay inside the Stock Shot Club where we can become your coach and walk with you for your entire journey. Thank you so much. And be sure to go visit stockshotclub.com.